Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 6th episode of The Real List, a podcast about our real list. I'm your host, Ellis.
And I'm your host, Gloria.
And today we have a selection from...
Me!
But before we get started on the movie, because you have to do your little synopsis...
Yes.
I do want to mention that we are recording this just sort of at random. We didn't recently watch this movie. It was probably a few months ago now. Again, it was Gloria's suggestion, so I'm a little rusty on the details, so if I'm mostly leaving it to them, then that's the way it is. But this is possibly one in a slew of episodes that we're sort of recording to get ahead of the ball, so there may be a handful in this stretch, or just overall, on movies that we haven't watched recently. Dinosaur was like that, this one is like that, maybe the next couple will be like that as well, but we are going to watch a movie tonight. So, without further ado, tell us about this film.
Alright, so this movie is directed by the one, the only Quentin Tarantino. You have Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Margot Robbie, and many others. This is basically a movie that symbolizes what would happen if Sharon Tate did not get murdered on that fateful night in, what was it? 1969.
Nice.
Okay. The movie is basically Leonardo DiCaprio plays a TV actor. His name's Rick Dalton, and his bodyguard.
His body double. Not bodyguard.
His stunt double. Cliff
Booth, I believe. Yes, Cliff Booth.
Cliff Booth. I don't know what, it's a tongue twister for me.
Booth.
And so they're stunt doubles. They're also double as best friends. And so Rick basically is going through the changes of working with TV, and then he gets this burst of like famousness. He travels across the country, and then him and Cliff's like, well, I'm starting a family. I don't need you anymore. This, that, and the third. Not like that, but they were like, let's get drunk and celebrate our friendship. And they do, and so towards the end of the movie, the people that were supposed to kill Sharon Tate got the wrong house and go into Cliff
Booth. You'd never survive as Superman because you'd be like, where's the phone booth? The phone booth. I gotta change.
It's not even that. It's like, it's Rick Dalton's house. Not even Cliff Booth's house. It's Rick Dalton's house.
They go in there and there's a crazy fight scene.
Oh yeah, the craziest fight scene.
Because it's Quentin Tarantino.
It's Quentin Tarantino, and also Cliff Booth is a ex-war vet. So
who allegedly killed his wife.
Who allegedly killed his wife, yes. And
actually, I wanted to elaborate on something you said really quick about the plot of the movie, which is why it's one of the things I look back on this movie and think a little bit about sort of fondly, because it takes place in sort of the beginning of the era, or part of the era of spaghetti westerns, which are westerns that are filmed in Italy and Spain, etc. And that is where you said they go across the country, they go across the world to take part in spaghetti westerns as a revival of their careers, because this is coming at a time when the show that Dalton was on, Bounty Law, has been canceled, and that's where his fame mostly lay.
Everybody loved Rick Dalton. In Italy.
Yeah, well, that's true. He gets a pretty hefty following, and then when they come back to the States after all this production, they're fairly well off. That's why they decide to have this little party, because they're celebrating.
Yeah, and plus Rick found himself a nice young bride, and a nice Italian young bride, and brought her to the States. And wasn't she pregnant?
I don't actually remember.
I think she was pregnant.
Wouldn't surprise me, but
she was pregnant, and so yeah. Basically, he was like, we're well off, and we're going to start a family. She's having a baby. And so they had their last hoorah. And, guy stuff.
Yeah. It's neat how it ties together, because the the Manson family only changes their mind about killing Sharon Tate because they recognize, or because they had a run-in with Dalton, right, earlier in the film. When he goes to the
No, that was Booth.
Oh, sorry,
That was
Booth.
Cliff.
That's right. Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to get them confused throughout this episode.
They got the house wrong.
No. Because they recognized Booth when he tells them to piss off because they have the loud car outside.
No, that was Rick Dalton that tells them to piss off.
Okay, then that's the person.
But no, Rick wasn't even at the ranch. It was Cliff who was at the ranch. Cliff brought the girl to the ranch and caused a whole bunch of problems because they slashed his tires. And then they go to kill Sharon Tate and they go in the wrong house. It's not because they saw Cliff.
No, it's deliberate. It is deliberate. Dalton hears them roughing order off the street. Oh, they didn't recognize him from earlier. They recognized him from him being on TV and being on Bounty Law, which is the place that they were staying on the ranch where it was filmed. They were...
Bounty Law wasn't filmed on the ranch.
Yes, it was. That was the point of it. That was the place. That's why. Yeah, that was the set, the Span Ranch.
Spawn Ranch.
Span, Booth.
I want to hurt you.
No, but for real. Okay, so I did get that part of it mixed up, but they went to kill Sharon Tate, got told off because the car was too loud by Booth, by Dalton, and changed plans because they recognized him instead. And then the three of them get stranded by the third one who leaves with the car.
Yes.
Or the fourth one who leaves with the car. So...
I love to also mention that Cliff Booth also smoked an LSD-laced cigarette.
Yeah.
And went for a walk with his dog, Brandy, who's an adorable pit bull, by the way. And, he goes on a nice long adventure with Brandy, and he comes back, and then not long after, Tex, Sadie, Katie, and Flower Child. I think Katie's the one who takes off. I think.
No, Flower Child leaves with the car.
Flower Child leaves with the car. And
the other three go into the house.
Yeah.
Booth recognizes them from when he went to the ranch. Orders the dog to attack. So hang on. Just rereading here really quick to bring myself up to speed on the plot. I just remember just to give like an overview of the movie on more things than the plot. We need to talk about what we think about it, And for me, it was like a 3-hour lead up to an insane fight scene, the likes of which I really haven't seen because this is probably the first Quentin Tarantino movie that I've seen.
You wait. We got Kill Bill and Kill Bill 2.
Oh God. Well, it's another one of those things where now that we've sat down and talked about it, I know that it's many moons after the event. Now I'm beginning to understand the connections a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
When we were watching the movie, I'll admit I sort of got lost in the movie. I was watching these characters sort of wander around, have their flashbacks, have their, interactions in Hollywood, and I didn't really understand the significance of the whole thing. Now that we're coming back to it, now it makes a lot more sense. I feel like if I had watched it again, I would gain a better appreciation for what's going on in the film.
I've seen this movie like 3 times.
And you have things fairly nailed down, but I do feel like it's easy to get lost in this movie, being how long it is.
It is easy to get lost in the movie. Don't get me wrong, but in all realness, like, it's a good movie.
Realness, REL. Realness. What?
I can't with you, but you're lucky you're cute.
Am I?
You are. Alright, let's not turn this into the Money Pit.
Hey, that was apparently a mint piece of podcasting, according to your mother.
Yeah, it was. Thanks, Mom.
So, I want to talk about for a minute just like favorite bits, crazy fight scene aside, I thought the interactions with everyone on the ranch was actually a really, really, like a very tense scene.
It
Uh,
was.
I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how that was going to work out from the get go. I was kind of, I don't know, spooked from the moment he got back there, and then there's, nearly blind or whatever he is. Uh,
He
what is it?
was
Steve
blind.
Spawn. Steve. What's his
Yes.
first name?
Something. He owns
The guy
the
who
ranch.
owns the ranch, who's being taken advantage of by all the hippies, but really doesn't seem bothered by it at all. He's just sort of like, they're not causing me any problems. They're
He's blind and old. He just wants to be left alone and taken care of.
yeah. Well, and the main girl there, it seemed like she took care of him.
I mean, that was Dakota Fanning too, if you noticed.
I don't know. I don't. I mean, you want to have a moment here. You want to have a where have we seen this guy before? What is Dakota Fanning in that I would recognize?
Dakota Fanning is the little sister from Cat in the Hat. If you've seen the real live action Cat in the Hat.
I haven't. I don't think actually. So, yeah, that was, I think, probably my favorite scene of the film, especially with I don't know, everything that goes into it. The fact that it's back on the set, the fact that it's he's seen the girl like 2 or 3 times on the corner, and then finally is able to pick her up and give her a ride back to where she wants to go. Which you don't know how that's going to turn out either. The other thing is she like tries to seduce him, and then he asks how old she is, right?
Yeah,
And,
she's like, "How old are you?" And she was like, "I'll be however old you want me to be."
Yeah. But she's like 16 or something. Or...
Yeah, she was in Charlotte's Web. She was the little girl that took care of the pig.
Okay. Man, it's been a long time since I've seen Charlotte's Web. I'll be honest. It's a name that I recognize. I just couldn't name what she looks like from looking at the just from hearing it. Okay, and I recognize her, but maybe I'm just recognizing her from this. So, I don't know. We need to say more about this film. What more? How much more can we dig into this? This is Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino is
someone who does symbolism. Would you say?
I mean, yeah. I think he's a very very exploratory with his films.
Yeah. Where can we get blood? Over here, on the
here,
ceiling, on the wall, on the inside of the fridge.
How many fight scenes? How many sex scenes can we get into this movie in in 3 hours? How much can we compact into 3 hours? Quentin Tarantino asks.
I don't remember there being a sex scene in this movie. Was there?
No, but there's sex scenes in other movies by him.
Okay, because I was gonna say
not necessarily. Like, there's hints of sex scenes, but like,
I feel like I would have remembered that.
Of course, you remember sex scenes, but you don't remember an actual movie.
Well, I mean, I got some of the plot right after reading it on Wikipedia. There's a lot of movie here.
It is a lot of movie.
But,
I would like to mention how they had Jackie Chan.
Yes,
they had Al Pacino. They had a lot of actors like on set of Bounty Law before they cut the series to an end. They had Jackie Chan. I mean, yeah, Jackie.
No, wasn't
it
Bruce
Lee?
Bruce Lee.
Sorry, Bruce Lee. Sorry.
I was gonna say I just read the bit about Bruce Lee. I think.
And how Cliff and Bruce get into a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then the director's wife kicks Cliff off the set. Well, doesn't kick him off. She fires him.
Yep.
Because he was hurting the star.
I mean, they both didn't seem worse for wear anyway. They both wanted to have that fight, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wasn't it because he like kicked Bruce Lee into her car and made a giant dent in it or something?
He threw him into her car.
Yeah, I mean that's the real reason. Don't have fights around the director's wife's car. I guess is the
yeah.
You know.
I also want to talk about the fight scene.
Oh God!
At the end.
Yeah, this is a blur to me. So you're gonna have to do the talking here.
At the end of the fights, at the end of the movie, towards the end of the movie, the big fight scene that leads up to everything. The big fight scene. It's Tex, Katie, and what's her name? Sadie. Katie and Sadie. How that rhymes. They all walk up to the house, and I think Tex goes in the front with Sadie, and Sadie comes through the back. And then Katie goes to see if anybody's in the back bedroom, to check the bedrooms. And then Cliff is still high off his ass from this LSD cigarette that he had. And he's like, hey, I remember you. It's Rex. And Tex is like, it's Tex. And then he starts lunging at Brad Pitt. And the other girl comes up behind Brad Pitt and sicks the dog on her. And again, Pitbulls have death grip.
The other girl being Francesca.
No, Francesca's the wife.
Oh, okay. Well, what other girl then?
Sadie.
Oh, Sadie controls the pit.
Brad...
Hold on, re-say what you said, because you said that one of the girls was controlling the pit bull.
No. Brad Pitt sicks the pit bull.
Yeah.
On Sadie. Katie is checking the rooms for anybody who else is in the house. And she finds Francesca and makes Francesca sit in the living room with her. It sits in the living room with Cliff. And so Cliff goes after Tex. And while Katie's distracted from Sadie getting attacked by the pit bull, Tex getting the shit kicked out of him, Francesca takes her shot and fucking twat punches Katie, and she falls on the floor, and I think she kicks her head in. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember. It's a blur, but I can remember bits and pieces. And Francesca's like, take that, motherfucker!
I remember the flamethrower. That's the part that I remember.
Yes,
I remember
yes. And
that that Booth is tripping out, and I remember the flamethrower. That's about it.
So Brad Pitt finally sicks the pit bull off of Sadie, and she tries to... Her face is all mangled and mauled and everything from the dog, and the funny thing is he throws a can of the dog's dog food at her. And she basically flies out into the pool area where Rick Dalton is, and Rick Dalton is laying on this pool floaty, listening to music, has a drink, has a cigarette, and this girl comes just flying into the pool, and he gets scared, he falls off, and then he frantically gets out of the pool, and goes into his little shed, he had a little shed outside his pool, and pulls out a flamethrower from one of the sets he was on.
You know, just casually has a flamethrower.
Just casually has a flamethrower, and lights this bitch on fire in the pool until she's dead.
Yeah.
And Katie had her face smashed into the fireplace after Cliff was done with Tex, and then the cops get called by the Tates, who are literally a driveway up.
Mm-hmm.
So, what were your thoughts on that? I know you said it was a big blur, but...
Oh, yeah, no, it was nuts. Again, this was my first Tarantino film, and I know he has a reputation for going over the top on this sort of stuff. The trop, yeah, in the booth. And it boggled me. It blew me away. I was sitting there going, holy crap, this keeps happening. Like, it doesn't end. There's so many... I mean, the dog, the LSD, the kids breaking in with the... if I remember, there were,
knives.
Yeah, knives, improvised weapons, etc. Francesca being suddenly awesome because, like, she appears just in the last act of the film, basically, right?
Well, you see her, you see her in the what was it? What do you call it? The montage. The montage of them being overseas and Rick filming and everything, and Cliff being with them. You see her in the montage, and when they mention her, you like fully see her. Mm-hmm. And then they come home and everything, and then you really don't see her as much. Right.
And you don't know what you're going to expect with a new character coming in the last 30 minutes of a film.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There was it's horror and it's funny and it's just insane. I mean, how can you put a term to this? Which brings me about to, how do you term this movie? I mean, it's just sort of, I mean, it's a drama, right? And that's a pretty catch-all term for just like, oh, there's no distinctive category this fits in otherwise. It's just people doing people things. You know, it's not world-ending stakes. It's the story of, you know, a handful of people and a cross-section of their lives, which includes a lot of insane stuff.
I mean, it also includes an important part of history as well, because Sharon Tate was actually murdered.
Well, yeah, but even if you don't know that, if you don't know who any of these people are, you know, the actual characters that are in the film, or the real people, rather, it still provides that narrative. Without that historical context, which I didn't really have,
go ahead, finish your thought, but I just...
It's, you know, it still provides this story, and so on the one hand it's a drama, on the other hand it's historical fiction, and on the third hand it's an action movie for 20 minutes. Like, I don't know, it left me with a feeling of like, okay, what did I just watch? And I was unable to put it in a box in my head, and I still am kind of unable to do that because I don't typically watch these kinds of movies, and I'm glad you've exposed me to them.
So, do you remember when Sharon Tate went to the movie theaters?
Yes.
And she was like, "Can I see this movie?" And she was like, "I'm in the movie."
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Oh, the girl behind the booth was, oh, you're in the movie." And she calls the usher over and was like, "She's in the movie." They took her picture by the poster. Did you notice that when they were in the theater, the movie wasn't remade so it looked like Margot Robbie? It was actually Sharon Tate's films.
I mean, I didn't... Again, I was missing a lot of the historical context of
yes.
this. In fact, it only really locked into place when I was doing my quick read-through of the Wikipedia article before we started filming, so I could brush up on this movie again. And so, no, that went completely over my head, because I didn't know... Like, I've heard the name Sharon Tate, don't know who she is. I know she's an actress, or was. And it's, other than that, it doesn't, like, none of that registers. So it was like, oh, this is an actress who's going to see a movie that she's in. And the rest of it, I was oblivious. I mean, you don't really see much of the movie, right?
Well, no, you do get a glimpse of it for a while, because the thing that made me look back at the screen was when she put her feet up on the fucking seat. Not with shoes, her bare feet.
That's L.A.
I mean, it was also the 60s, early 70s. But, end of discussion there.
1969.
And...
Nice. It was, I mean, I'm not saying it was a different time, but I am saying that it's, you know, they're wearing flip-flops. You know, you can get away with wearing flip-flops and sandals out and about. You can't do that over here unless it is the dead of summer. You know, I could wear flip-flops outside right now and I'd come back with blue feet.
I mean, yeah, but you're smarter than that.
Am I?
I don't know, are you?
I don't know. You take me to a movie and see what happens.
If you take your shoes off in the middle of the theater, there's going to be a problem. We are going to scrap it outside.
What if you can't tell because it's dark?
I'm going to be sitting next to you.
Yeah, and? I'll do it during a big 20-minute long action sequence, and you won't even notice. And then suddenly my feet will be up on the chair, and you won't have noticed me taking my shoes and socks off. Actually, I'll wear water shoes to make them easier, so I don't have to wear socks.
Are you kidding me? Are you serious? Do you guys hear this?
This is a serious discussion about wearing water shoes to the movie theater.
No! You're not doing that, because I will not leave the house with you if you wear it.
What if I put them on while you're not looking?
We will get a divorce.
Alright, let's give our star ratings. You go first.
Okay, I gave this movie a 5, because this is not only my third time seeing it, it's just... I love Tarantino. I think he makes amazing, phenomenal films, and I think DiCaprio and Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie pulled this movie together, and I think that you know, with everything with the Manson murders and just Charles Manson himself, it's a huge part of, like, not a huge part of history, but it's history. And it's I liked the fact that I saw it from, what if it didn't happen? What if they went to the wrong house, intentionally went to the wrong house?
The the interesting thing is that we don't really get a what if it doesn't happen. We don't get to see any aftermath, right? We don't get to see any changes in the timeline other than the fight, other than like up to an hour after the change in the timeline. So we don't really get a what if it wouldn't happen. It's more of a, hey, we're going to align some circumstances so this doesn't happen. We're going to
Well, yeah, but
we're going to make some characters and we're going to put them through this, that, and the other thing, and then we're going to put them in the line of fire of a historical event and see what happens, which doesn't detract from what you're saying. I'm just trying to give that, like, this is the full deal of what's going on, the historical fiction part of it.
mm-hmm.
It would be kind of interesting to see, you know, oh, what would happen if things...
Sharon Tate didn't die.
Yeah, and if things went this way, if this movie was real life, how would the next, you know, decade play out? Would it be any different? Really?
She would have had her baby.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know. That's just that is the takeaway for me on the historical fiction aspect of it, which I think is a good way to do historical fiction because you don't have to worry about people's expectations of what a butterfly in the timeline is going to do because you don't need to address them at all.
Yeah.
You just say, hey, this is what happened. It led up to this event changing. And that's the film, because it's not about that event, or, you know, it's not about the fallout of that event. It's just about these characters. And Sharon Tate also happens to be there,
mm-hmm.
mostly. It's kind of funny that they give the focus to Sharon Tate's character as much as they do, but that's because I suppose it's a Tarantino film and it's a slow burn.
Yeah, the whole thing with Sharon Tate is they wanted to give you the background on who she was,
mm-hmm.
because in the beginning they're at a party and they're like, she's married to him, but he is still in love with her. And if that European fucks up, he's gonna go back to her, or she's
mm-hmm.
gonna go back to him.
Yep. Now, it's just as another aside, based, you know, because of what you were saying, it actually is helpful to establish who Sharon Tate is for someone like me who didn't recognize her, didn't know who she was.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot where I was supposed to be going with that, but that is helpful, although she doesn't really have that much of an impact on the story overall.
No, she doesn't. But you know that she's a movie star, and
yeah. And the thing I wanted to touch on that's most important, that I may have mentioned a little bit earlier, is that when the Manson trio changed targets, it's because, you know, they recognized him and they thought he was a more valid target than she was, because he taught them how to kill on television, that sort of thing. That's how it's phrased anyway. That's
mm-hmm.
how they phrase it. And it makes me wonder, did we ever actually know why they were
killed?
Why they killed her in the first place?
I have no idea. We could probably look it up.
Sounds like an episode of Red Web. Anyway, let me do real quick. I'll give you my star rating. I've talked about this movie plenty. I do think it's a very good movie, and I gave it 4 stars. Now, I don't know why I gave it 4 stars, really. I think we weren't doing half stars at that point. And I felt like 3 might have been too low, or even too rude, because you really wanted me to see this movie.
I was really excited to show you this movie because it's just like, you know, Sunset showed it to me, and I showed it to Kyle, and I wanted to show it to you.
So, no, I wasn't displeased to give it 4 stars. I didn't think it was a 5-star movie to me, and I really had this sort of internal dilemma of, okay, do I rate it based on the quality of the movie, or do I rate it based on what I think of the movie? Because I think it's a very high quality movie. I think it deserves the 5 stars you gave
mm-hmm.
it. But at the same time, I don't really think it's for me necessarily. And maybe I would have given it 3 if I was in a different mindset. That said, I'm okay with the 4 stars now that I understand the historical context of it, because that adds another layer to it that I can appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's my what and why. Um, to round this up, because I need to make sure that I do this, because I keep forgetting to do this, please subscribe to the channel, like this if you like it, if you want to see more. Comment if you've got a take on the movie. We've gotten a few good comments thus far, and I appreciate all of them. And that's it. The generic boilerplate YouTube stuff that we have to do. We do kind of need to get this channel over 100 subscribers so I can fix the URL situation, because this used to be Admiral Ellis, and now Admiral Ellis is my channel. This is an old channel of mine that's just been kicking around for like half a decade. Anyway, you want to watch a movie?
Yeah.